The film Oppenheimer has opened to rave reviews and people are queuing up at the theatres. Similar reaction is seen here in India as well. But to the Indian audience, the film has also caught attention and not in the positive for one of the scenes. There's been an intimate scene and there's a reference to Bhagavad Gita in that. And therefore, let's talk about that. What kind of support or not has the film got over that? Joining me is a very special guest in this interaction. He's an actor, Nitish Bharadwaj, and many of you will recognize him, a very familiar face and he's played the role of Lord Krishna in a very popular television serial of B.R. Chopra, Mahabharata. Thank you so much, Nitish, for joining us in this interaction. So you tell us, if you watched the film, whether you support an intimate scene, a sex scene like that, where there is the reference to a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Nitish.
Well, you must understand everything from the perspective. What is the perspective? If it's an intimate scene, okay, love is one of the strongest emotions of all beings.
True.
Whether they're human beings or animals, right? But in that intimacy, that kind of an intimate scene, that moment, if the scientist is thinking of the Gita's teaching, and especially when Krishna says that I am Kalosmi Loka Kshaya Krit Pravruddho. I am the eternal time which is going to kill everything, which is going to engulf everything. So I am the destroyer. That's the word he is used constantly in the film. I am the destroyer. I am the destroyer. In those most important, intense, intimate moments of love and passions, if he is thinking of I am the destroyer,
yes,
that means he is expressing his guilt. Please understand, he is expressing his guilt. He is so consumed by the remorseful feeling that whether I did my duty towards mankind. Was this
or creating
my duty
the atom bomb
mankind?
that killed so many people, specifically in in Japan.
By creating the atom bomb, you see, there have been the wars have been there before the First World War, even the Second World War being fought all over the place, all over Europe, everything. But to see two cities completely wiped out with that atom bomb, it's a devastating feeling. It's a feeling of it must have shaken him up. And especially a scientist who's exposed to the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, Gita is nothing but telling you the duty in its right perspective. What was told to Arjun on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was that perspective of the war. As a warrior, as a Kshatriya, when you enter into the war, you don't show your back and run away. That's not your duty. Okay? And that is why immediate next shloka, which is 11.33, says, Tasmat uttishta, yasho labhasva. So get up. So you have to understand the perspective. So his perspective, Oppenheimer's, was that I did my duty. I thought this was my duty, but was it my duty to kill the mankind? And I have seen one of his interviews before, when he spoke about that moment and he was in tears. That itself shows that the feeling of guilt was so intense and strong inside him that probably he saw the future, what we are seeing today. All sorts of explosive bombs are being used to wipe out our human race. And who's doing it?
So do you think that could be a context that he knew about Bhagavad Gita in reality because of his interviews? That was used as a part creatively in the film.
Now, but let me complete.
Sure,
how was it used? He's again and again saying, I'm the destroyer. I'm the destroyer. It's his remorse. He's not, forget what he's doing. When a scientist, often we actors, we are thinking of something very difficult and very intense. We are consumed by that invention, that discovery, whatever. But after that thing has happened, he's consumed by that guilt so much that he's not thinking of his romance, he's not thinking of his love, he's not thinking of his intimacy. He's only thinking of his guilt. I am the destroyer.
So Nitish, because we saw on social media, my added question to that is on social media, because these days people are quick to react whether or not they've watched the film, and they believe that in films there's been in some sort of sequence that Hinduism is often unnecessarily criticized or mentioned in a wrong way, that this time as well it is Hinduism being portrayed while there is a sex scene in the film. Because you've watched the film, what would you want to say to some of them who've literally decided to go ahead and file complaint against it?
No. I would advise restraint and see this perspective. It is in the most remorseful moment of his life. Oppenheimer is thinking about the power of the Gita. It is the Gita which told him that probably this was not my duty. Probably wiping out mankind with this invention, this is not my duty. That is the power of the Gita. The Gita is nothing but perspective. And I must say, this is the first time probably. See, you have to understand, Christopher Nolan is not a Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Correct.
He's
Correct,
not.
of
He's
course.
not a Christopher Nolan is not a person who's got an axe to grind against Hinduism. Okay, there are people who've been doing it in the past.
Exactly.
Okay, in this country and outside this country. Christopher Nolan is a very serious filmmaker. So if he's done it, he's used that one word, one line. I am the destroyer. I am the destroyer, because that is his guilt of Oppenheimer. And that is the power of the Gita. For the first time, I am saying, on international forum, international cinema, Christopher Nolan has used that word very correctly to show the guilt and remorse of this father of atom bomb. We must look at it that
Very
way.
interesting. And not just the fans, Nitish, I'm also reminded of a statement made by the Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur, and he has said they will not accept if there is any insult to Hinduism, they will take action against it. What do you say to the government? Do you think the government also should show some restraint for now, depending on the context of the scene there?
The same thing which I said so far. Government should also show restraint. Government, the honorable minister should himself see the film and see in what context Nolan has used this line, I am the destroyer.
Would you want
The
to?
act,
Yes.
the act that he was doing at that moment is not important. The thought which was consuming his mind space and his emotional space is most important, because that is the guilt and remorse that he felt, and the aftermath of that guilt and remorse is what we are seeing today. And I feel, it is time that the Hindu society and government per se, government of India today, which is led by Honorable Prime Minister, who's himself a Vedanti,
Yes.
who himself has learned Vedanta, he must tell his government to show restraint. And I'm going to go to Delhi tomorrow morning. I'll be in Delhi. I will be having. I'll try and meet Mr. Thakur myself,
Okay.
and urge upon him to do that. The one thing I want to say. We've been, time and again, for decades, we've been hearing this about nuclear disarmament. Has nuclear disarmament really happened? Every country, every nation is only increasing their defense budgets, and they are selling more and more jets and bombs and missiles. So much so that even we had to, under Atmanirbhar Bharat, we were forced in defense, though offense has never been Bharat's policy. But in defense, we have to protect ourselves. So
Yes.
we have to also protect ourselves through missile creation and manufacturing program. But this is forced upon us. So nuclear disarmament has not been achieved. This goal is not achieved. I urge Prime Minister, when he's done with his duty for India, probably he should consider taking up the post of United Nations Secretary General and actually pursue this goal of nuclear disarmament in the world.
All right, lovely. That's a good point there, but must show restraint at least at this point and look at the situation in context as well. Nitish, you have not just been Lord Krishna as a character, but what we have seen, whether it was the Ramayana of those days or the Mahabharata, these serials literally made you Lord Krishna in so many ways. I'm sure there must have been fans who came up to you, who bowed down to you. So there was this reverence and respect that was given even to you, even though it was just a character that you were portraying. But I can see that how involved you have been in reading the Bhagavad Gita yourself. Today, when we see international personalities read the Bhagavad Gita, try to find out more about this incredible religion of Hinduism, how do you see this as well? Bhagavad Gita talking about whether it's remorse, duty to ensure that it's eternal time. The time is going to end for everyone. And these are some of the verses that even today people are trying to find interest on. How do you see how Bhagavad Gita has become a book for irrespective of age groups and religions across the world today?
Bhagavad Gita does not belong to only us Hindus. Bhagavad Gita is a philosophy of life. It's the art of living. It teaches you Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Akshar Brahma Yoga, everything. It teaches you everything. And through Vibhuti Yoga, which is the 10th chapter of the Gita, the Lord Himself has expressed Him as everything in this world. He says, Ashvatta Sarva Vrikshanam, Devarshinam Cha Narada, Gandharvanam, Chitraratha, Siddhanam, Kapilo Muni. So he's talking about various aspects of life and how I am the best in that. And he's saying, Ashvatta Vriksha is the best Vriksha, that I am. So he's basically teaching us the philosophy which is for peace, the philosophy which is for dharma. Dharma does not mean faith. Dharma here, from Gita's perspective, does not mean religion. Dharma means duty.
Duty.
Okay, so duty. So, and duty has a perspective. My duty to my child will not be the same as my duty to the nation, my duty to the my duty to my wife, my duty to the society, or my duty to my office. So there is always a perspective, and Gita teaches you to see the perspective. I urge upon the people of India to see the perspective, and for the first time somebody has used that line so well to express the guilt and remorse of Oppenheimer, the father of atom bomb, who probably is not happy. You see what is happening today. We are our defense budgets of all the countries are just going up. We are killing each other. Is this why? And that is precisely why the Brahmins of the Kshatriyas, after the end of Kurukshetra war, decided not to propagate, because we had the Shruti Parampara. Okay, we didn't have the writing Parampara. We used to teach, orally to all the Vedas and scriptures, all the other scriptures. So they decided to scuttle that scripture called Dhanur Veda, which is an Upaveda of art of warfare. So it got scuttled. Otherwise, you see Brahmastra. You see, the ideal example I can give you is
Yes.
Brahmastra is nothing but an atom bomb. So
True.
Brahmastra was
True. Yes.
not a form of an atom bomb, a devastating missile or a devastating astra, which was not given to everybody. So Dronacharya didn't give it to everybody. And see how it was misused by his own son Ashwathama, whose money was taken away by Krishna, and his wound is still not healing, and we believe that Ashwathama is Chiranjeev. Why do we believe Ashwathama is Chiranjeev? Because the Lord Krishna wanted our societies to remember Ashwathama is not Chiranjeev alone. The purpose why this money was taken, the mistake why this money was taken, must be remembered for time immemorial. That's what Lord
So
Krishna wants
many,
us to
many
do.
who may just want to dismiss the Bhagavad Gita and say it is just a historical,
No.
mythical scripture, do not realize perhaps even today how strongly it can stand in day-to-day life. As simple as do your duty, do not worry about the or concern
Absolutely.
about the fruits that come with it. And
Absolutely.
that perhaps is even today
Absolutely.
people unknowingly quoting the Gita have said. My
Yes.
final question,
Yes.
Nitish, would be, you've played Lord Krishna, and you must have thought at that point possibly it was a character that you're playing, a role that you're playing. How has that impacted your life? It wouldn't have been easy as well in an acting career to now have become the Lord Krishna of it, but how has your life been impacted by playing Lord Krishna, such a significant part of our history, of our country, of our religion?
It's one of the strongest heritage of this planet. The Vedas, Upanishad, Brahman, Aranyak, Shikshavalli, the Bhagavad Gita. Swami Vivekananda himself has said, Gita is a bouquet of best chosen flowers of the Vedas and the Upanishads. Okay, so I live by the Gita. I live by the Gita. And no, you're wrong when you say that I just thought it's just kind of a role. That is why you see all my interviews where I said first I declined to do it, because I knew the sense of responsibility on the actor who will play Lord Krishna.
Yes.
It's a huge responsibility. And I probably thought at the age of 24, I'm not the right person to do it at that time. And Chopra Saab should have selected someone who's more experienced.
Okay.
But then it kept on coming back to me again and again. Ravi Chopra said, no, you are the one. Rai Saab said, no, you are the one. And then it was my mother who who was proficient in the Gita and the Ganeshwari. And she said she knew my study of the Gita and the Ganeshwari right from my childhood. It's not that this knowledge doesn't come from the divine in one day that you're selected.
Correct,
It
correct.
is it is preordained that I was born to these parents and who taught me the Gita. My father, I've seen him as a karma yogi. He kept on doing his karma. He had difficult times, and that's the pariksha. That's your test. And so is mine. After the Gita, after the Mahabharata, my life has seen lots of rough patches.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and everybody, and I sometimes joke with my friends. I say, every big man's life is difficult. So is mine. So I'm a big man.
Well, it was meant
this
to
is
be the
this
manner
is
in
just a
which,
joke.
yes, you've played, and
Yeah, this
I'm
is
sure Lord Krishna
yeah,
has carried you through, and
yeah.
you've done your duty
That's
as
right.
best.
That's
Nitish,
right.
I
So
appreciate,
I'm
yes,
learning. I'm learning from the Gita, and the most important thing I keep telling people from all fora is it is not important to remember all 700 shlokas of the Gita.
correct,
It is enough to practice one, what is applicable to you.
perfect.
Just pick one and practice it. Again, a huge appeal to all the people and audiences of India. Show restraint. That's Hinduism. Show restraint. Restraint is Krishna. So show restraint and see the perspective in
Perfect.
which Nolan has used the Gita so cleverly and so beautifully.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Nitish Bharadwaj. You may be real, Lord Krishna, but for many, you may have been real as well. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your
Thank
view
you.
on Oppenheimer, the film. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.